My name is Ethan Pierce, and I'm 28 years old. I'm a software developer, living on my own in a cramped apartment in downtown Los Angeles. Growing up in a family where money was always tight, I've spent my entire life feeling like the odd one out, especially compared to my brother, Adam. He's the golden child, the one who never seemed to struggle, always getting everything he wanted while I was the one left behind, taking care of everyone else. I've always hated that feeling, like I was invisible, constantly drowning under the weight of family obligations. And just when I thought I was done with the past, everything flipped. A single phone call at 2 a.m. demanding $15,000 to save my brother from his own mess, and a cryptic message from a stranger suddenly dragged me right back into their chaos. I should have known then that I was never going to escape. But what I didn't realize was that this call would lead to a far darker truth, a truth that would shatter everything. You think you know your family, Ethan? Think again. The phone rang again, louder this time. I couldn't escape it. My eyes shot open, heart hammering against my chest. 2 a.m. I rubbed my face, disoriented, reaching for the phone. It was my stepfather, Mark. I stared at the screen for a second, then answered, still groggy. Ethan, it's bad. Mark's voice trembled through the speaker, panic evident in every word. You need to send $15,000. Adam's in trouble. He's being held hostage. He's at some underground gambling den, and they're going to kill him unless we pay. I blinked, trying to process what I was hearing. Hostage? Underground gambling den? The last time I checked, Adam was more interested in car mods than dealing with criminals. I opened my mouth to protest, but Mark cut me off. You're the only one who can help. Your mother can't do this, Ethan. You know your brother. He's always in over his head. But this time it's different. Please, I'm begging you. I leaned back against the couch, rubbing my temples. Why always me? Adam was the one who messed everything up, yet I always had to fix it. It had been that way my whole life. I didn't choose to be the responsible one. But here I was, about to pay for his mistakes yet again. I hesitated, staring at the phone in my hand. Then, a message popped up on the screen. Adam isn't where they say he is. It was from an unknown number. My stomach tightened. I hadn't even responded to Mark, but now this? Who the hell is this? Ethan? Are you there? Mark's voice cracked. I'm here, I muttered. I'll send the money, okay? But I need more details. Where exactly is he? Who's holding him? Mark paused, like he was trying to formulate a believable answer. I don't know. Some casino guys. Bad people. You've got to trust me, Ethan. Time's running out. I couldn't shake the feeling something wasn't right. Adam was reckless, sure, but he wasn't stupid. Why would he get mixed up with people like that? I ran my hand through my hair, a bitter taste creeping up the back of my throat. I didn't trust Mark, but I was supposed to be the one to fix things. It was my job, always had been. Just as I was about to speak, the phone buzzed again. Another text, the same unknown number. They're playing you. It's not just money they want. My pulse quickened. Was this person warning me? Or was it just another sick joke? I looked at the message again, heart pounding. Something wasn't right. Mark's voice broke through my thoughts. Ethan, please, don't make me beg. If you love your brother, I'll send the money, all right? I snapped, cutting him off. But I need answers. Now. I hung up before he could say another word, my hand shaking. I dropped the phone onto the coffee table and ran my fingers through my hair. This wasn't just about saving Adam anymore. The pieces didn't fit. There was something bigger at play, something I was missing. The phone buzzed again. This time, it was a call from an unknown number. I stared at the screen, dread creeping up my spine. With a deep breath, I answered. Ethan Pierce. The voice was cold, measured. You don't know me, but I know everything about your brother. And I know what your stepfather is really hiding. If you want the truth, you need to meet me. The docks. Tomorrow night. Midnight. Come alone. The line went dead before I could respond. My chest tightened. I felt like I was suffocating. The message was clear. Whoever this was, they knew something that could destroy my family. And now they wanted me to walk right into it. I had no choice but to go. But one thing was certain, I was already in too deep. I didn't sleep a wink that night. My mind raced with every possible scenario. Why had Mark called me of all people? Why wasn't my mom involved? I sat at the edge of the couch, staring at the empty walls of my apartment, trying to make sense of it all. It's not just money they want, the text had said. Who the hell was behind this? And what was Mark really hiding? I barely noticed the hours slipping away until the sun began to rise. The city outside my window buzzed to life, but I was still trapped in my own head. I knew I had to go after the truth. But where to start? I decided to visit Adam's place. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was the only lead I had. Maybe, just maybe, I'd find something that would explain why Mark was so frantic. I grabbed my keys and left. The walk to Adam's apartment was uneventful, but the unease gnawing at me grew stronger with every step. The complex was a rundown building near downtown, with faded walls and graffiti-covered mailboxes. Adam never cared much for appearances. It made sense. He'd always been reckless, living life by his own rules. I, on the other hand, had spent years trying to hold everything together, patching up the cracks Adam left behind. When I reached the apartment, the door was locked. I knocked twice, my heart pounding, hoping to hear Adam's familiar voice. No response. I pulled out my phone and tried his number again. Voicemail. Something wasn't right. I pulled out a spare key from my pocket, the one Adam had given me years ago in case of emergencies. I hesitated for a moment before unlocking the door. The apartment smelled faintly of stale cigarettes and old pizza. It looked as if it hadn't been touched in days. My eyes scanned the room. Nothing had been moved. The couch cushions were sunken, and the kitchen was a mess. But then I saw it, the envelope half hidden behind a stack of dirty dishes. I walked over to it, my pulse quickening. I opened it slowly as if something would jump out at me. Inside, there were stacks of cash and a crumpled note. The handwriting was shaky, almost frantic. They're watching. Don't trust anyone. Meet me at the docks tomorrow at midnight. Come alone. I blinked, trying to process what I was seeing. The docks? That was the exact same place from the text. But who left this note? And why would Adam leave money here without telling anyone? I shoved the envelope into my jacket pocket and turned to leave, but then I froze. There was a faint sound, a click of a door opening somewhere down the hall. My heart raced. Someone was in the building. I glanced around the room, looking for a place to hide. There was no time. I grabbed my jacket and bolted for the door, slipping out into the hallway. My hand trembled as I gripped the doorknob, pushing it open just enough to slip through. The hallway was dim, but I could make out a figure at the far end, too far for me to make out any details. I wasn't sure if they saw me, but I wasn't taking any chances. I moved quickly, slipping into the stairwell, my footsteps echoing against the concrete. As I reached the bottom, I turned a corner, and then I stopped dead in my tracks. There was a man standing at the door of the building. His face was hidden under a baseball cap, but his posture was stiff, like he was waiting for someone. Shit, I muttered, pressing myself against the wall. I had to get out of here. Fast. I made my way to the back exit, where a dumpster blocked the door. I slid past it, the heavy door creaking loudly behind me. When I was outside, I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. The last thing I wanted was to get caught in a bad situation. I wasn't sure who that man was, but I didn't plan on sticking around to find out. Back in my apartment, I sat down, trying to calm my racing heart. The envelope with the note, the strange man at the door, it all pointed to something deeper than I'd anticipated. Someone was messing with me. Someone who knew exactly what buttons to push. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my recent messages, staring at the text I had received earlier. They're playing you. It's not just money they want. The words echoed in my mind as I set the phone down. My mind kept coming back to one thing. Adam was in trouble. But what if this wasn't just about money? What if there was something far more dangerous happening? I knew I had to meet the stranger at the docks tomorrow. There was no other choice. If I wanted to find out what really happened to Adam, I had to take the risk. But I wasn't prepared for what I would find when I got there. I barely noticed the time slipping by until the sun started setting. I was too caught up in the storm of questions swirling in my mind. Why had Mark acted so desperate? Why had Adam left the money behind without telling anyone? What was the real truth behind the gambling debts? And who was this person pulling the strings? I checked my phone again. The text from the unknown number stared back at me, as cryptic as ever. They're watching. Don't trust anyone. And then, in the silence of my apartment, another message came through. If you want to know the truth, come alone. I locked my phone and took a deep breath. There was no turning back now. I had already stepped into a game I didn't understand, but I had no choice. Adam needed me. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and left the apartment. The docks were waiting, and I was about to find out just how deep this mess went. One thing's for sure, I thought, stepping into the night. I'm not coming out the same. The docks were empty when I arrived. The harsh streetlights flickered above me, casting long shadows across the concrete. I pulled my jacket tighter against the cold, my breath visible in the air as I scanned the dark water. The boats rocked gently in the distance, their low hum mixing with the distant city sounds. I checked my watch. It was 11:55 p.m. 5 more minutes. I couldn't help but feel the weight of the decision pressing against me. I had no idea what I was walking into. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about money. Whoever was behind this had an agenda, and I was the pawn in their game. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. It was the kind of sensation you get when you're not alone, but there's no one around. The hairs on the back of my neck prickled. I turned around, half expecting to see someone lurking in the shadows, but there was nothing. The boat I had been instructed to look for was nowhere in sight. The note had said midnight, but I didn't know who to trust anymore. Mark? The text? Everything was a mess. You think you know your family, Ethan? Think again. The words echoed in my head. It had been almost 24 hours since I received that message, and I still hadn't figured out who sent it. My stepfather had been hiding something, I was sure of it, but what was he really involved in? A flash of headlights broke my thoughts. I squinted into the darkness, the sound of an engine revving growing louder. It was a black SUV, sliding to a stop by the dock. My heart skipped a beat as the door swung open. A man stepped out, his face hidden by the hood of his jacket. Ethan Pierce. His voice was low, like he was speaking through clenched teeth. I didn't answer right away. I wasn't sure what to expect. The guy could be anyone, but there was something about him, a coldness in his eyes that made me uneasy. Who are you? I finally asked, my voice strained. The silence stretched for a beat too long before he spoke again. Does it matter? He didn't wait for a response. I'm the one who knows what's going on with your brother. My blood ran cold. Where is he? The man pulled a folded piece of paper from his jacket pocket and handed it to me. I didn't take it right away, but he kept his hand outstretched. Your brother's a mess, Ethan. Always has been. But he's not where you think he is. I grabbed the paper, quickly unfolding it. The letter was typed, not handwritten, and the words were blunt, almost taunting. Your family's hiding more than they're letting on. Adam's in more trouble than he realizes. And it's not just money they want. You're in over your head, and so is he. The truth is worse than you think. I stared at the words, trying to make sense of them. My pulse quickened. This wasn't just a debt. Something far darker was happening. The question was, what exactly? Who are you? I demanded again. Why are you telling me this? The man smirked, but it wasn't a friendly expression. Let's just say I'm here to make sure you understand how deep this goes. His eyes narrowed, like he was deciding whether to say more. If you want to get Adam back, you need to stop asking questions. Where is he? I insisted. Not here, he said, stepping back. But if you really want to help him, you'll listen carefully. You don't know the whole story. Your brother's been in deep with the wrong people. He's made deals that involve more than money. Things that could ruin everyone. Even you. I swallowed hard. My hands clenched into fists. I was being played. Who are you working for? I shot back. The man's face hardened. The same people who control the game. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Suddenly I felt something. It wasn't the same as before. This time I wasn't alone. It was like the air around me shifted, and the hairs on my neck stood on end. From the corner of my eye, I saw another figure emerge from the shadows. A woman. She was tall, with long dark hair, wearing a dark leather jacket. Her eyes were cold as steel, and she didn't even blink as she approached us. You brought him? She asked, her voice steady and calm. The man gave her a quick glance, then nodded. He's ready to know. Good, she said, her lips curling into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then let's get this over with. I felt my chest tighten. What the hell was going on? Wait, I said, taking a step back. What do you mean, get it over with? Where's Adam? What's this all about? The woman didn't answer. Instead, she nodded to the man, who reached into his pocket and pulled out a small envelope. He handed it to me. My hands shook as I took it, a sick feeling settling in my stomach. What was inside? Open it, the woman said. I hesitated for only a second before ripping it open. The moment I saw the contents, my blood ran cold. It was a photo of Adam. But this wasn't just a photo of him in some happy moment. No, it was a picture of him. Tied up, his face bruised and bloodied. This was no simple gambling debt. This was something else. Where is he? I demanded again, my voice rising. Tell me now. The woman stepped forward, her eyes locking onto mine. The question isn't where he is. The real question is, who is your family really working for? I was about to ask her what she meant when a noise behind me caught my attention. I turned quickly, only to see two more men stepping out of the shadows, their faces obscured by masks. They weren't here to talk. I swallowed. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was a trap, and I had just walked straight into it. As they closed in, I knew there was no going back. I had just signed my name to something far worse than I had imagined. And Adam was the key to it all. The truth was out there, but I was going to have to fight to uncover it. The air was thick with tension as I followed the woman and the man in the dark jackets down the narrow alley, their footsteps echoing in unison with mine. The docks, usually silent and empty at night, felt like a cage now. I couldn't shake the feeling that eyes were watching from the shadows, even though I couldn't see a single soul. You're in over your head, Ethan, the man said, his voice low, almost a whisper, like he was speaking more to himself than to me. He stopped suddenly and turned to face me. You think you're helping your brother, but you don't even know what you're dealing with. I swallowed, trying to hide the unease creeping up my spine. I don't need a lecture. I need answers. The woman beside him chuckled softly, her arms crossed, her gaze unwavering. He's right, you know. Adam's trouble runs deeper than just money or a gambling debt. Her eyes narrowed. There are people who will stop at nothing to get what they want. And right now you're in their way. A car pulled up to the far end of the dock, its headlights blinding for a moment before it came to a halt. My heart leapt. I instinctively reached into my jacket pocket, but the man was already a step ahead, placing his hand on my arm. His grip was firm, like he was measuring how far I'd go before I broke. I jerked my arm back. Who the hell are you people? The woman stepped forward, pulling out a small flash drive from her jacket and handing it to me. The question isn't who we are. It's who your family really is, and who they've been working for. I stared at the drive, my mind racing. What do you mean? My family's just ordinary. My mom. Ordinary. She interrupted, shaking her head. Your stepfather's not just a guy who works 9 to 5, Ethan. Your brother isn't the only one in deep. And your mother? She's been in on it all along. You've been living a lie. A sharp coldness shot through me. I wanted to deny it, to scream at her that she was wrong, but the words got stuck in my throat. Every time I thought I understood, the truth twisted into something darker. You can't trust anyone, Ethan. Not even your own blood. The voice in my head whispered. The man who hadn't spoken much until now stepped closer. This isn't just about gambling, Ethan. Your brother's debts are tied to something much bigger, something that involves international syndicates. But that's just the surface. My head spun. What do you want from me? We need you to make a choice, the woman said, her voice turning cold. You can take the drive and walk away. You'll learn the truth, but you'll be on your own. Or you can keep playing their game, but you won't survive. I felt my pulse quicken. What were they asking? How could I walk away from my brother? Tell me what's on the drive, I demanded. She smiled, a small, wicked grin. You'll see soon enough. But be warned, some truths aren't meant to be known. I grabbed the drive without thinking. What else could I do? I wasn't backing down. Not now. Not when I could still save Adam. I spent the next hour sitting in my apartment, the drive plugged into my laptop. The file was a video. It opened with a grainy recording of Adam, sitting in a dimly lit room. His face was bruised, his eyes bloodshot. My stomach churned as I watched, my mind desperately trying to piece it together. Ethan, if you're watching this, Adam's voice crackled from the speakers. Then things have already gone too far. I don't know how much time I have, but you need to understand what I've done. What we've all done. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, but I couldn't bring myself to stop it. The video continued. Adam spoke of debts, of people he owed money to, but more than that, he spoke of threats. People I didn't know, names I'd never heard. As the video played, the camera shifted, revealing a man standing behind Adam. My breath caught in my throat. It was Mark, my stepfather. But he wasn't just watching Adam, he was holding something. A gun. My mind raced. Mark. He was involved. The screen went black, and the video ended abruptly. I sat there, frozen, staring at the empty screen. The room around me felt smaller, suffocating. How long had Mark been a part of this? This wasn't just about Adam. This was about my entire family. I stumbled backward, my heart pounding in my chest. I had to do something. But what? What could I possibly do when the very people I trusted were the ones pulling the strings? I stood up, pacing the room, trying to gather my thoughts. I had to talk to Mark. I had to confront him. But I also needed to get Adam out. He was deeper in this than I realized, and I couldn't just walk away. The phone rang. I almost didn't pick up, but something told me it wasn't over yet. I looked at the screen. Blocked number. My pulse quickened as I answered. Ethan, a voice said, deep and smooth. It's time to stop playing hero. The clock's ticking. Who is this? I demanded. You know who it is, the voice replied. Your brother's life is in your hands now. But you can't save him if you don't play by our rules. I felt the weight of the words hit me like a freight train. Whoever was behind this knew everything. They knew I was the weak link, and now they had me cornered. And they were waiting for me to make my move. It's time to choose, Ethan. You're either in or you're out. I hung up, heart hammering in my chest. I wasn't sure what to do next, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't trust anyone, not even myself. The phone vibrated in my pocket again. I didn't have to look to know who it was. Another block number. Just like the ones I'd been getting all day. I stood there in the cold, staring at the empty street, wondering if I was already too late. You're either in or you're out. The voice on the phone had told me. And it was clear now, there was no turning back. I stepped out of the alley, my mind racing. Every step I took felt like it was pushing me closer to something I couldn't control. This was bigger than Adam's gambling debts, bigger than my family's lies. It was something much darker, something I still couldn't grasp. I glanced over my shoulder. I kept feeling that nagging sensation, like someone was watching me. The night air was heavy with tension. Every sound amplified. The scrape of my shoes against the pavement, the hum of the streetlights above. I didn't know how long I had before things escalated. And I didn't know how much longer I could keep pretending like I wasn't already drowning. The truth was closing in on me. And the more I learned, the more it all started to feel like a nightmare. I walked fast, almost at a jog, until I reached my car, parked just a few blocks away. As I got in and slammed the door shut, I locked the windows and started the engine. The hum of the motor was comforting in a way, but it didn't take away the gnawing fear in the pit of my stomach. I had to find Adam. I pulled into the underground parking garage of the building I knew my mother lived in. Mark's apartment was just a floor above hers, a few floors above the chaos that was now my life. Every step I took toward that door felt like a step further into a trap, but there was no turning back. The game is rigged, and you're the one who's going to lose, Ethan. I remembered the stranger's warning from earlier. It felt like a curse now hanging over me. I swiped my keycard and headed to the elevator. The slow hum of it, climbing up to the top floor, was almost soothing in its monotony. But the closer I got to Mark's apartment, the heavier the air seemed to get. I could feel the weight of something hidden, something no one had told me about, bearing down on me. My steps slowed, each one feeling like it took more effort than the last. When the elevator dinged, I stepped out into the quiet hallway. I approached Mark's door with caution, then hesitated. Was this really the right move? Was I ready for whatever truth was waiting inside? I knocked 3 times, loud enough to cut through the silence, but not enough to draw attention. I waited. Nothing. I knocked again, louder this time. Still no answer. I reached into my pocket for my phone and sent a quick message to my mother, telling her I needed to talk to her about Adam. I was about to dial Mark's number when the door creaked open, just a crack. It was Mark. His eyes were wide with surprise, and his face was pale, like he hadn't expected me, or anyone, to show up. "What the hell are you doing here?" he asked, his voice tight. "I came to talk," I said. "About Adam. About everything." His gaze flickered nervously. He stepped back, letting me inside. The apartment was dimly lit, but the tension in the air was palpable. It felt like everything was on the edge of breaking. "Sit down," Mark said, gesturing to the couch. "We need to get this straight." I sat, trying not to let the anger I felt show on my face. "You need to tell me the truth, Mark. About Adam, about what you're involved in." He ran a hand through his thinning hair, taking a deep breath. "Ethan, you don't understand. You don't know what we've been up against. Adam's in way over his head. And I've tried to protect him, but—" "Protect him?" I interrupted. "You've been using him. You're just as deep in this as he is." Mark's eyes hardened. "You don't get it. I didn't want you involved. But I couldn't stop it. I tried to keep it from you, from your mother. But this thing is too big." He was speaking in circles, and I could feel the knot in my stomach tighten. "What thing, Mark? What is this? Who are you really working for?" Mark flinched, like I had struck him with the question. But then he leaned forward, his eyes locked on mine, and he whispered, "I don't have a choice anymore. They'll kill us all if we don't follow through. They're watching." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. Who's watching us? "They are. The people Adam owes money to. You think they're just some gamblers? They run a syndicate. They're connected to—" He stopped mid-sentence. A door creaked. I turned instinctively. I didn't see the flash of movement until it was too late. A figure stepped into the doorway. It was a woman, a face I recognized. "Sophia." What the hell is she doing here? I demanded, standing up. Mark didn't answer. He looked like a deer caught in headlights. Sophia stepped into the room, her eyes cold and calculating. The truth's out, isn't it, Ethan? I took a step back. The room seemed to close in around me. What's going on, Sophia? Why are you here? Sophia smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. I'm here because I'm the one who's been pulling the strings all along. Everything inside me froze. She was the one behind it all. I was standing on the edge of a cliff, and there was no way back. Sophia stepped forward, and the world I thought I knew shattered in an instant. Your family, she said, her voice slow and deliberate, isn't who you think they are. The room felt suffocating. The air was thick with tension as I stood there, staring at Sophia. The truth, the ugly, twisted truth, was finally out. My family, my entire life, had been a lie. Mark's betrayal stung deeper than I ever thought possible. But Sophia? She was the architect of all of it, pulling strings in the shadows. She had been watching, planning, manipulating from the very beginning. You're lying, I said, my voice shaking, but I couldn't stop the words. This is all some game to you. Sophia's lips curled into a cruel smile. No, Ethan. It's not a game. It never was. Your family, they were the ones who got themselves involved. And now they're in too deep. They've been working with people far worse than anyone you could imagine. I took a step back, my mind reeling. What was she talking about? Everything I thought I knew had been shattered, leaving me standing in the wreckage, wondering what was real. Sophia moved closer, her eyes dark. I told you, you're not just fighting for Adam. You're fighting for yourself now. You're caught in the middle of a war that's been going on for years. I couldn't breathe. The walls seemed to close in. I thought I was the one pulling the strings. I thought I was the one saving Adam, but now I realized I had been played from the start. How does it feel, Ethan? She said, her voice dripping with venom. To finally know the truth? To understand that you were never more than a pawn in their game? Her words hit me like a slap. I wanted to scream, to fight, to break free of all this, but it was like every move I made only dug me deeper into the mess they had created. You're just like them, I said, my voice low but steady. All of you. Sophia laughed, the sound cold and bitter. No, Ethan. I'm not like them. I'm the one who controls the game. And then, she did something that made my heart stop. She pulled out a gun. It was like the world froze in that moment. I could see every detail in perfect clarity. The glint of the metal in her hand, the cold expression on her face, the way the light from the street lamp caught her eyes. I had never been more terrified in my life. Sit down, she said, her voice sharp as a knife. I didn't move. I couldn't. Don't! I finally managed to say, my breath coming in short bursts. You don't have to do this. There's still time. There's no time, Ethan, she interrupted, stepping closer. You've been holding everyone back, trying to fix things. But now you'll see. You've made your choice. I didn't understand. What choice? Sophia's smile widened. The choice to save your brother. To get involved. Now, you're just as much a part of this as we are. My heart raced. My head pounded. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. This wasn't how it was supposed to end. Suddenly, the door behind me slammed open. I spun around, expecting the worst. But to my surprise, it was Mark, his face drawn, his eyes wide with panic. Sophia, stop, he shouted, his voice trembling. You don't have to do this. She turned, gun still in hand. You've been hiding this from him, Mark. You've kept him in the dark for too long. He deserves to know everything. He deserves to know what we've all done. Mark's face twisted in pain. I didn't want this for him, for any of us, but it's too late now. Sophia glared at him. It's too late for you two. I couldn't breathe. Too late for who? What was she talking about? I felt a sharp tug on my chest. The lies. All the lies. The reality of everything. My family's involvement in this twisted network of criminals. the manipulation, the betrayal was crashing down on me. I had trusted them. And now, I had no idea who was on my side. Mark took a hesitant step forward, his voice softer now. Ethan, But I didn't wait for him to finish. I stepped back, my mind running 1,000 miles a minute. There was no more time. No more lies. I could let Sophia control everything. I couldn't let them control me. I turned, running for the door. I couldn't look back. The weight of it all was too much. As I burst into the night, I heard Mark's voice calling after me, but it was too late. My mind was made up. The cold night air hit my face as I ran. The only sound was the pounding of my heart and the rushing of my breath. I had to get out. I had to leave behind the lies, the manipulation, and the people who had dragged me into this mess. The truth will set you free, I thought, remembering something I'd heard once. But what if the truth was the thing that destroyed you? I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was going to happen next. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of clarity, a sense of freedom. I was no longer the puppet in this sick game. I had a choice. And for the first time, I was going to make it. The darkness around me wasn't as terrifying anymore. In fact, it felt strangely comforting. Because in the end, the only thing that really matters is the choice we make to stop being the victims of our own story. And I had made mine.